to the scientists, psychologists, psychiatrists, educators, carers, social workers, public servants, journalists, influencers, and all others participating in mass social conditioning. If you truly believe you're helping humanity, I invite you to pause and consider. What kind of human being do you contribute to shaping when you reward obedience, compliance, and emotional suppression? When you treat natural emotional responses to structural violence as disorders to be medicated and contained, are needs being served or an agenda? When your interventions prioritize efficient policy enforcement and expediency over holistic relationship development and genuine understanding, what inner blueprint do you reinforce? Do you notice how many children become increasingly withdrawn, defiant, addicted, or emotionally unstable under your definition of care? Do you recognize the escalation of the depth of suffering your interventions trigger in those you label as disordered, dysfunctional, or resistant? Have you considered the possibility that your own fear of feeling and your pursuit of safety through control is being projected onto others under the veil of support? What if the true function of your role is not to support healing, but to manage the distress of the subjugated in order to protect the system that fears human depth and genuine autonomy, using the language of support to sanitize your discomfort with raw, unfiltered truth? Could it be that this fear is not merely personal, but systemic, institutionalized, and reproduced through roles cloaked in care? And in doing so, have you unwittingly become the agent of a deeper betrayal, using pharmaceutical sedation, behavior management, and diagnosis not to free the suffering, but to mold them into better fits for a profoundly sick society? What if the very instincts you suppress in others are their soul's protest against a system that demands their subjugation? I understand it may be painful to question the value of what you've dedicated your life to. If you're sincere in your desire to contribute to humanity, why avoid personal responsibility for the self-evident consequences of your actions? Coercion dressed up as care is still coercion. How easily does your position allow you to forget that each individual you claim to support is a conscious, sentient being, integrated in body, mind, and soul, endowed with holistic intelligence, a capacity for pattern recognition, and a non-negotiable need for free will? This is why you manage or treat them, to make them comply with arbitrary standards of perceived authority, leaving them with only the choice of pretense in a desperate attempt to preserve what little dignity they have left. Each time you choose comfort over authenticity, whether for yourself or the system, both your vitality and the clients you care for retreat, and what remains is a facade, one that ultimately undermines the well-being of all involved. The cost is not only borne by them. Your own capacity for intimacy, authenticity, and inner peace diminishes every time you silence your conscience to uphold a state-sanctioned role. We are at a turning point. The world doesn't need more well-behaved citizens cheering for their own exploitation, funding enforcement agents and high-performing students who go on to manage a prevailing social order rooted in domination and hierarchy. It needs integrated, authentic human beings, emotionally connected, spiritually awakened, and courageous enough to protect their integrity from a system of structural violence that thrives on their submission. How much does your role allow you to avoid confronting the deeper truth that each individual you support is not inherently defective, but responding to the duress of structural violence? Has your attachment to treating the effects, their behaviors, their so-called disorders, become entangled in your sense of self-worth, the place where you meet your needs for control, safety, meaning, and purpose? And if so, are you truly meeting those needs when doing so involves the willful suppression of your moral faculties, and comes at the cost of another human being's dignity, reduced to a mental abstraction through terms like student, customer, client, or patient, used to justify control. By continuing to focus on their compliance with arbitrary standards dictated by what you perceive as authority, you avoid confronting the deeper, more uncomfortable reality that the true cause of their suffering lies within the very structure you help uphold. What keeps you from facing this truth? Why do you continue to stay in the safety of treating symptoms where you hold no real power, instead of acknowledging the cause, which would require you to reckon with your own moral agency and the part you play in perpetuating this harm? If there is any of you that still remembers what it is to feel deeply, to care unconditionally, to burn for truth, I appeal to that part now. You can stop collaborating. You can stop silencing yourself to preserve comfort, approval, or status. You can stop calling your fear professionalism. History will remember those who had the courage to break ranks with institutionalized cruelty, not with hatred, but with unwavering devotion to what is real, pure, and life-affirming. Let that be you.